Hi, Guido folks, welcome by a new book report. And today the book Words from Osho from a Man of No Words. And the title is also very interesting, the book Words. So he's writing everything down in words, but he is the man of no words. Everything goes in silence transmissions through his mouth, via his voice, and also you can feel in his texts and you can feel in his words what he was writing down here. You can feel the high calibration energy in the lines. So I can feel by books who are writing down by very high spiritual evolved people that you can feel in the text a kind of sensitivity here. So the man of no words, a silent transmission through text and also silent transmission through voice. So you can also talk from vastness, talk through lines in your body. Then you have also the energy transmission there. The book only €5 in an old bookstore here in Amsterdam. So I was very lucky. Only €5 for so many knowledge, unbelievable. And that's also very disappointing. If you go to normal bookstores, you never find Osho. Even if you go to the biggest bookstore here in Amsterdam, they have some small spiritual corner, and they're full with bullshit spiritual books. Even if you go to spiritual centers and spiritual bookstores, even there you don't find Osho, or maybe one of two books. It's very crazy. But what I want to say is that mediocre society, there's no market for this kind of works. You have to go on internet, or you have to find very special old antiquariat bookstores where you can be lucky. And I was the lucky man that I found for €5 this wonderful book with parables, with verses from Osho, and they have a very deep knowledge behind. I want to start with killing the ego, dissolving the ego. I talked a lot with you about that. That we have to kill our ego, dissolve our ego. And what he was saying here is not really about dissolving the ego, but more about how the ego is formed and how that plays a role in our miserable life, in our emptiness inside, and that the ego is there responsible for. The ego is also a mistake, he tells in this book. And he wrote in page 13, he wrote, ego is that which you accumulate. So the ego mind identification is mostly an accumulation. So you start with your children years, and there is no ego from 1 to 6 years. There's no ego involved in your personality, in your ego, in your mind relationship, in your ego mind identification. So the ego is formed, and it sums up and it sums up and it sums up. And then most people, when they are 70 or they're 80, then the ego will be down. You have your company, you have your income, your reach, your family, you have your children, you have proven yourself through society, and then naturally rise. You, at the age of 50, 60, or 60, you become more relaxed and chill, everything is fine, and then you're searching for spirituality. So most people are going into spirituality when they're 60, 70, 80. Very disappointing, because right before you're dead and you have still a rigid personality, so it's difficult to dissolve the ego. The best is going into spirituality if you're 27, 28. That's the best step for escaping from society and starting for yourself and be more in an energy field, what is stimulating you to reach higher spiritual levels. So ego is building up, and ego is building up, is accumulating through education. We have to learn, we have to go to school, we have to grab our diplomas. So higher diplomas, how more pride there is through society. Oh, Guido, I have my PhD. Oh, what great! You are so nice. That's so happy for you. You wrote your PhD. Wow. They're not yet kissing my shoes for that. But all my family, the future employees, oh, he had his PhD on his 27 years. Oh, what good, what great. So, hey, you see here, ego society mechanisms are working out. So, we're living in a status oriented society where people are proud of what kind of titles you have or what kind of diplomas you have. So education is building up your ego. So how more diplomas, how more masters, how more books you've read, how more whatever can be related to your ego. So I like to read because I love to read. Reading is for me a meditation. I love to share my knowledge. There's no ego inside, there's love inside. So, but what you see in school systems is people with more diplomas, higher grades, grabbing higher grades are more interesting for companies, and you get easily hired, and then you can easily go through higher degree systems. So what you see is that ego is a lot of accumulation in the education. So your ego is building up, but actually your happiness is going down, is going down, is going down. So civilization, and this is anti-natural, civilization, the status-oriented society, the hierarchy systems, and the path of school is, if you're going great, you're going to the next classes. If not, you staying in the classes. That kind of systems are actually civilization, and that is actually status oriented, because if you live in a jungle, you doing your stuff and you grab some food, some bananas by a tree, and everything is fine. You have some small group, some small hierarchy over there, but not really the path what we're seeing. So what Osho is saying here is very important, that ego is that all you gone on accumulation through education, manners, civilization, culture, schools, college, universities. You go on accumulating. It's your effort. It's your effort. It is your concentration. It is your striving. Effort. Ego effort. You have made it. And you have made it so big that you have completely forgotten your real self. So that is what happens with people. They're going into education, and also in the company they are hired. They're also going into an education system. You're starting with you're a lower guy, then you're a middle guy, then you're a manager, director, partner, whatever. So you see also that hierarchy systems arising there, what is stimulating your ego, and you want to be always by the next level. You always go to future projections, and that is killing your real self, and that's killing your natural self, and that's always killing that you're living in the now. So ego is not something what you have. You're not born with an ego. Ego is formed by society and makes you less happy, and not is not staying for long term long-term happiness. So be aware of that mechanisms, what I told to you, to drop your ego and dissolving your ego. But the main topic is here that your ego are have been accumulating by society. Topic 2. You have to drop your answers, drop them, and I will kill your questions. The day that there's no question and no answer within you, and you're just sitting here empty, you have come home. And this related also to my last video, is the questionless mind. So we are addicted to questions, we are addicted to answers, we all want to know things, we are grabbing like a rat, rah, rah, knowledge, 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 and you can be addicted to that. And that addiction makes you unhappy, so he's killing your questions. And if there's no question anymore arising in you, you reach higher forms of spiritual growth. The third topic is a very interesting topic, and that's about personality. And I talk about my last video from yoga, the science of the soul, about mask. So you're putting up mask everywhere in a different situation, in a different group, you are someone else, and that makes you very tired. And because you're acting from scareness, from fearness, you're putting a mask to be more conform to group dynamics. So you're away from yourself, and what you see is that you don't want to have mask everywhere. You want to be natural, you want to be yourself, and don't want to put different mask on you. But he was saying here actually that personality is a thin mask. So you think that you are yourself. You think that you have your own identity. And your identity is a false ego identity. And that can be a little bit confronting for yourself. Be confronted for yourself. That I'm telling to you that you're not your real self. I'm my real self. I'm doing my thing. I have my job. I have a nice car. I have a nice family. That's me. That's myself. Who you are. That you're telling that I'm not myself. That's bullshit. So it can be really confronting if I saying to you that your personality is not your real personality, but the personality what society is given to you. So what you're seeing is that you decide a personality by society, by your family, by your universities, by the school systems. So your identity is formed by your parents, by your teachers, by your neighbors, by your friends. They're molding you in your self personality. So in your fake personality. You're not real identity, your real identity. So you're attached to your miserable, because the most people are miserable, are angry, are not happy with themselves. So you're also attached to your miserable, not real, fake, ego, society given identity. And that can be really confronting for you. And you are stay miserable because you're confined in this personality. You're kind of imprisoned in this personality. You're mental slaved in this personality. And that's very interesting, of course. You don't know what you can reach more than the personality you have. And through spirituality, you can reach higher forms of identity. You go beyond identity. So there's a deeper layer you can go through. If you're going deeper in spirituality, you can feel your inner line. And with deep meditation and contemplation, you can go through that. You create another identity and you feel lost in a kind of period. but you feel reborn, you feel renewed because you experienced a new identity. So there's an identity change, and a lot of people are scared for that, so they don't go into spirituality, but because they're holding on their old identity. I want to be that guy with that studies, with that job, with that family, what all the society is given to you. So you're a mold and you are not yet find your real identity, your real spiritual identity. So your identity now is a molding, factoring machine. You are attached to that and you are afraid to losing your old identity and to create a new one. So the old identity is given to you and can given away. And your new identity is your spiritual identity, is the higher form of identity. Also Socrates was telling about this. And then you have an identity change. The old identity is given up and you create a new identity, and that's the spiritual identity. That's the spiritual line identity. And that makes you more self-nature. That makes you more nature, more real, with no mask. No mask, always real in different groups. And if you're self-nature, you're self-real, that is also energy consuming, right? It costs you constantly energy if you are be constantly someone else, a different mask, but also afraid of losing your old identity. So there's more to reach on identity level. On page 25, point number 4, he's floating something in the line and I didn't understand it. You have to remember, watching is not some art, some craft. No, it's a crack. And I didn't know, a knack. Excuse me, a knack. I didn't know what a knack was. But a knack is some trick. And I know exactly what Osho here is meant by it, because witnessing and observing and remembering is all dealt with godliness. So if you find godliness in yourself, you feel the 7 chakras alive, then you use a knack. And knack is a mind turning inwards method. So the mind is turning inwards, and that is enlightenment. So that's the trick. So a knack is a trick. So you wrote here, it's not art, it's not some craft. So watching is a knack, and that's something that's very important here. That it is in Dutch you say it een handigheidje. It's een handigheidje, it's a trick, it's a knack. And that's important to understand in this enlightenment process. Number 5 is the mind is exaggerating. And that is on page 34. He's writing something about the mind, and I found it very interesting to discuss with you home. Is that the mind is, if you're fully in your mind and you're fully in your thoughts, then your mind is also very windy. There are a lot of thoughts inside and also very emotional. So people are fully in their mind and always stressed out. And they're thinking about the future, what they have to do during the day. So there's stress involved there. And what you see is that the mind is very easily capable of exaggerating. And there all the trouble comes inside. Because if you're fully in your mind, stress is related, you're emotional, and then calm is away. But also you exaggerating the situation in your surroundings. So you can be very scared of some people, of if you walk outside the street, of you are confronting with some negative event, you exaggerate the situation. So what I see, people who are fully in their mind, who are very rational, are also very afraid. Rationality and afraidness is very linked with each other. So exaggerating is also daar op de loer. It also can pass by easily if you are fully in your mind. So exaggerating situation, and that's not a real situation. So what I see by people who I coached or I see in daily life or I speak who are afraid are very in the mind, and they exaggerate a lot of situations. And that makes that you operate from a different negative dimension, and that dimension is not the real dimension where you live in. So I think that a lot of people are seeing the world from different eyes than I do. So I don't want to be arrogant here or something, but if you reach higher spiritual levels, you can see the real environment, the real underlying social dynamics between people. You can see the real thing instead of the unreal, dusty shadow things there is. So it is in what kind of perspective you are seeing the world. Not too rosé, not too dark, but real. I mean, you see the real world. So you think you see the real world. That's not true. You see the world from a more negative, destructive view than if you reach higher spiritual levels of growth. So, well, higher in your spiritual growth, how more you reach the real world there is. Thank you for watching to this book report from Osho Words about the ego accumulation, about identity changes, about the Aknack, and about the mind is exaggerating. And we discussed another topic is that you have to drop your questions and your answers, and if there's no question anymore, you're coming home. So these were the topics about spiritual growth and evolution, about awareness. And I see you by the next book report. Hi.